Amos, my bod, my buddy. What's going on, dude?
Chilling like a villain.
Dude, thank you for letting us use this spot for the past week to record all these podcast interviews.
Absolutely, Paulie.
It's my good friend Amos Scuzi. He owns this fine establishment here.
I'm a barber.
Barbarous. So, dude, I know you well, but I don't know you like deep.
Okay.
And you just always like make me curious.
Okay.
And so let's just start from the top. Where'd you grow up?
Grass Valley, California.
Born and raised?
Right here, baby.
Yeah, and I understand your family's been here like a long ass time.
Yep. I am third generation Nevada County. Parents or grandparents came over from Italy on one side, and then the other side is kind of all mixed all over the place. Don't know where half of it's from.
So your grandpa Amos is the Italian side, right?
Yes, grandpa.
And when did they come here?
The Rondonis, the one part of us came over in the late 1800s, I believe. And then the Scuzzis came over in 1930, around the Mussolini stuff. They came to get out of the fascista during World War II.
Can't blame them.
Yeah.
And then were they did they do any gold mining or what did they do here?
No, they did hotels mostly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the one side. Rondonis, I don't know what the Rondonis really did ultimately, but yeah, the Scuzzis they owned a few hotels and stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then, so you're growing up, your younger years, what was it like growing up around here? It's kind of podunky.
Yeah, dude. Just real, back then, for sure, it was real suburban-y, white, rednecky, conservative, that whole thing.
And now it's like quite the opposite.
Now it went from, now it's just crazy. But yeah, no, it was all conservative most of my life, and then the weed stuff started getting legal, and that came up, and then everybody started growing weed, and now that that's dying off, a lot of people moving up from the Bay Area, and so a lot more wealthy liberals, I guess you would say.
Can we use that word on here?
I don't know.
Get shadow banned.
I don't know. Really. I don't know what I'm supposed to say or not.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's like a melting pot here. You got kind of everything. You got your rednecks, you got like a large community of people that like came from all over the world to basically trim weed who stayed here. So there's like this huge ethnic, like mixing pot of like different countries, a lot of Europeans,
Tons of Europeans.
and then like, maybe like South Americans,
Yep, I just had my good British friend here today.
Yeah,
who's grown weed here. Yeah.
Yeah, so there is this like melting pot of, it's not just rednecks, it's rednecks and hippies.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
everything in between, so it's kind of cool.
For sure.
So, your parents, what was your life growing up like with your folks?
Dad worked a lot. He was a construction guy. He worked real hard. He wasn't around a lot for growing up, because he was giving us a better life. He was always out on the construction site. My mom was awesome. She was a great mom. She was always around. And I got a lot of motherly love growing up. And I had a good life.
Yeah. Yep. And then you didn't. What happened? I know we've talked a little bit about your background, how things kind of at one point, went south, but I don't really know like if there was a turning point or what.
Yeah, no, I had the regular old Grass Valley fucking white boy life growing up, and then, like I said, Dad wasn't around a lot. Parents kind of married because of they were pregnant with me, and that's why they got married, doing the thing like most of our parents did back then.
I'm sure they were in love, though, as well, maybe a little bit.
Yeah. Whatever love was back, I don't know. I see it a lot more now in our generation, real love. I feel like back then a lot of people got married out of necessity.
Yeah.
Or they didn't really know what love was, I don't think. Love is, I think now our generation's gotten more into the metaphysical side of things. We're getting in touch with ourselves, and like there's a lot more I see a lot more true love in our generation just because we saw so much fake love.
Yeah,
And
I feel like our parents had to like fuck it up a little bit for us to make a shift, you know, in like our relationships.
Yep.
You know, I think that, you know, generational trauma and generational things are a real deal. And like your grandparents were immigrants. Like it probably wasn't easy for them to come here and start a new life and then maintain like a loving, healthy relationship for your parents to grow up in.
So, yeah, that's a crazy one. So, Grandpa's parents, they came here, started the hotel. Grandpa died. His dad died probably when he was 4, I think. And then Grandma died shortly after, I think, when he was 6 or something. Grandpa got put in Mount St. Mary's, not adoption, you know, orphanage. Mount St. Mary's was an orphanage. Grandpa got put in there when he was real young, and so growing up in a Catholic orphanage, I know that was a little traumatic for him.
Dude, and then just not having parents even.
Absolutely, you know, losing your parents for sure. And then, going through the Catholic orphanage, I know, like, I'm not sure about anything, but, you know, there was some weird priest stuff, and him being a boy, and...
Yeah.
So anyways, Gramps went through all that stuff, and then finally he got adopted by the Personinis. They were another big Italian family around here, yeah.
Dude, I didn't know that. I know the Personinis. That's cool.
Yeah, man. So he got adopted by the Personinis, and they're the ones that owned the ranch where Dad lives now.
Oh, no way.
So it got passed down. Yeah, that's where Grandpa, I believe, when he grew up with them, he grew up down there. I got a picture over on the wall, I think, of him. Oh, no, it's at my house.
It's really cool. Like, interesting, because you say you didn't really have like that depiction of love growing up in your house. That's like what you would consider, you know, the true love of a husband, wife, and parents. But your dad, like, man, that guy is so full of love now. Maybe something changed in him, or it's a different type of love. I don't know, but
he definitely. Dad, after him and my mom got divorced, he went through a lot of stuff. Yeah, he was a hardcore conservative redneck, and it was definitely one of those things, like, trauma shocks us.
Yeah.
Makes us go through things. Yeah, he started eventually going to Bikram yoga and getting away from Christianity, which we were raised in. Mm-hmm. He's pretty avid, not against it now, but he's very anti-religious, and
he has his own relationship with God, which is important, you know, that like it be yours.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, no, he's got his own relationship with God for sure. And he is. He shows, he is a ball of love. And, but just like, you know, the trauma, man, coming down from Grandpa, like I said, from what Grandpa went through, and then him growing up, he was real. Everything was about money, and he was a very strict father, and Dad was an exceptionally amazing child from what I understand. He was the high school quarterback at NU. Yeah. He was like the shit.
Great student, college
went to
graduate.
Davis. Yep, went to Davis, college graduate.
Definitely the favorite of the kids.
Yeah, I would say, my aunts and uncles were all, he definitely got the most love. But even that, it wasn't, and he still battles with that today with his parents. He's still always around them. He loves them, but he's constantly. That still affects him to this day for sure. Like, he's constantly worried and just angry, a little anger there, at them and everything they still hold on to. Where
you know what's cool about your dad is that he's constantly working on himself.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like if you said all these things and he just like let it ride and was still that old person, that old soul that, you know, wasn't seeking healing or new paths of happiness and joy, you know, that would rub me a wrong way. But I know your dad, and he's always like going to a dance retreat or doing a silent retreat or doing this sweat lodges or peyote ceremonies. Like he's always trying to better himself, you know, in one way or another.
He is striving for peace, for sure.
Yeah, for peace. Yeah, exactly. Inner peace. So your parents split, and like, how did that affect you?
It was a crazy one, man. My parents, it wasn't crazy. Like, compared to say, I'm still part of the 5% of white kids. Like, it was a very normal divorce, but just being around, like as most kids are, being around the normal, well, a lot of kids in that situation, you have this normal fake image of a family and love that you grow up being a kid, just knowing what you're told, like this is a family and we all love each other and their parents love each other, and then suddenly finding out, like, I was like 16 years old, which I think is much more of a shock to a kid than when, that's why I talk to a lot of my kid clients, like when their parents get divorced, or the parents that are doing it, when they get divorced earlier on, I'm like, yeah, it's better for the kids, man. Like, not to put them through a illusionary life for so long, than making them come up with this belief of this is real and this is what is, and suddenly having the shock of, oh, my entire life as I know it was semi-fake.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I don't know if there is a better age for a kid to go through that. Either way, it's traumatic. I think at a young age, you don't have the capacity to really process what's going on. You might take a lot of it as like being your fault, maybe.
Yeah.
But as a teenager, it might fuck you up even more, because you're like, oh, wow, everything is totally a lie. Like, I found out Santa Claus was fake, and I was like a teenager, and it wrecked me, dude.
What?
I was like, you guys have been lying to me all these years. What the hell? I couldn't imagine if they were like a divorce that had been stewing for years.
Yeah, no, no, you're totally right. And it does depend on how the parents treat it too. Like nowadays, once again, like even kids our age that are getting divorced, when they talk to their kids, they're very much affirm them. This is not anything to do with you. And me and your dad are still going to be friends, and this is all good. And but yeah, back then, or I'm sure it happens all the time today, but just they get divorced, and then they're fighting each other, and they're trying to make favorites with the kids with each other.
Did they lose? Where'd you go? Did you have to do like a custody battle, or
no? Me and the sis were too old at that point. I ended up going. I stayed with Mom for a little bit, and then when I ended up down at Dad's house, and because he was down there all alone. He moved down to the ranch that I told you about, the old Personini Ranch, which we still owned. He used to rent it out.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
It's such a special place.
It is, man.
That's where you got married?
That's where I got married.
Yeah,
Native Americans used to live down there. It's powerful.
Yeah, it's definitely a special piece of land.
Yeah, very energetic.
So you're 16, your parents split, you're dealing with it.
I moved down to Dad's. I'm Dad's only friend at that point, which we've never really had a relationship before because he was never around, and suddenly we do, and he sees me more as a friend, I guess.
Yeah.
Instead of a son, because we never really had that relationship.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, he needs you, but like you needed him all these years, and now it's like you need a dad more than ever right now. Your world's just flipped upside down.
Yeah,
and you step into this like friend role to like carry him.
To support him, and you're 100% correct. So yeah, I moved down there to support him. Yeah, you're probably right. I didn't have a dad for a long time, and that's just like the way I am. I'm just always been very conscious of everybody else's feelings, and I don't want people to feel bad.
Yeah.
And
carry everybody else's traumas.
Yeah, man. So I moved down there to live with him and help him, and he unloaded a lot of stuff on me about the divorce and stuff that a son probably shouldn't know about.
His mother.
His mother, his parents, all of the above, man. Which was a heavy thing on a 16-year-old, especially a kid that's coming into himself for the first time. But that aside, that's made me everything I am today. It was all those. I'm grateful for all of it. I do not regret anything, and I'm happy I went through all that, because I wouldn't be where I am today. And I know I chose, in my personal beliefs, I chose this life to live it, to go through all the things that I have gone through to bring me to the point I'm at now. And I do believe, I'm not religious or anything by any means, but I do believe.
You're a very spiritual dude.
I'm a very spiritual dude. And I do believe, yes, before we come into this life, we choose our parents in the situations to put us through everything we need to be put through to eventually level us up, man.
Yeah.
Make us better spirits, make us better, whatever, you know.
Yeah, it's like you're in the forge all these years, you know, like just being pounded and pounded and pounded, and then eventually you're like a tool.
Yes,
you
and
know?
now I have the most amazing wife, and I'm so blessed, and even in this crazy world that I don't understand and seems so backwards, like I just know I'm surrounded by so much love. My whole household is love.
Yeah.
I have a shop that I get to come in, and my clients, I got the badass, coolest people that I get to talk to every day. That
Dude, you do. You got a cool spot for sure. It's like, you know, you weeded out the shitheads, and you keep your circle close, and you people you have working here are all rad. But so get back to like after the divorce.
Okay.
You know, what's going on? Because I know you and I have talked a little bit.
Yeah.
And you went down a rabbit hole.
Yeah. So, you know, after the divorce, trying to figure my shit out, like I said, all that stuff. Had to grow up real fast all of a sudden, where I was kind of not spoiled by any means. Like, my parents never bought me everything I wanted, but I grew up in a nice house, and like I said, the illusion of family and stuff, and suddenly that's all broken apart, and like I'm just coming into myself, and so they got divorced, and I started, you know, that's right about when the drugs came out, and started experimenting with drugs in high school.
Which was your drug of choice in high school?
It started with weed, like most of us. That was probably like junior high, so even before the divorce. But at that time, it was when I was starting to realize stuff was going on. Like, a lot of fighting out in the open and stuff.
Yeah.
And by high school, like the first time Mom caught me, knew that I was smoking weed, they sent me off to Christian church camp every summer, which I had a good time.
Yeah.
Met some sexy ladies, and fucking, it was definitely, it was a good part of my youth.
Sexy ladies
Yeah,
at high school camp. They're
high
not
school
ladies
Christian.
yet.
Back then they were.
They're on their way.
Yeah. But so the first time she caught me was I made a bong out of at Christian church camp. They always gave you at the end of the year or whatever the theme was, one of those little plastic cups with the zippy straws in it. Yeah, so she found that in my closet, made into a bong. So that was the beginning of that.
That's funny.
And that was like right around when they started going through their thing. And then, like weed, cigarettes at first. And that was mostly what it was. I did mushrooms like once in freshman year, I think. And that was mostly, I was just a stoner through high school. Numbing out the stuff. Like I said, me and Dad didn't have the best.
It works.
It does work.
It works. It's hard to get enough of something that almost works.
Yep.
You know, it's like it does the trick.
Yeah. Put you in a different state.
Yeah.
Start getting into weird movies and stuff. Which, like I said, that's what started to expand my mind. Now, a lot of those weird movies I look back at, I know archetypal symbols and stuff, and I really believe that stuff was working on my subconscious the whole time, even when I was younger.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Everything that happens from when you're in your womb of your mother, in utero, all the way till like right now, in this current moment, is conditioning your subconscious.
100%.
You know what I mean? So it's like, everything we see, all the advertisement, all the books, all the little things, like, it's insane, you know?
Oh, yeah. As our corporate zaddies know.
Yep. So just weed and mushrooms?
Yeah, up until, it was pretty much just weed, a little mushrooms, and then they sent me away to, when I was almost 18, and this was after they got divorced. Mom had got together with her new dude, and Dad was down at the ranch alone. They sent me away to, my cousin lived in Hawaii. He was a Christian minister, and he was an ex-meth addict, and Christianity, he got thrown over there and saved his life. And he was a big part of a big church over there. You ever see those "He greater than I" stickers on cars?
Mm-mm. Is that like YWAM or something like that?
It's a verse from the Bible, but it's a giant H-E, and it's got the greater than symbol and a little lowercase I. It's huge. They're all over the country. It's huge with the Christian community. It's a big thing. that was his church.
Oh, really?
His students. He was a youth minister, and they were the ones that created that. So I got sent over there and was hanging around. That's where I was, and I stayed there for a summer in Hawaii. And at the end of the summer, they were doing a mission trip to Africa. So
You have that picture up there, yeah?
yeah, no, I keep it. Yeah, it was one of the biggest. That's where I learned that I could talk to God or the universe, and it does talk back very clearly. Even to this day that I'm not a Christian. Back then I thought it had everything to do with Christianity, but now I know that I'm going through. It's just your own subconscious mind talking to our source or our creator, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think we're all talking to the same person. We just create our own version of it, or follow whatever we've grown up being taught.
100%. Put our human fucking ideals on it. Yeah.
Which it is what it is.
It's totally cool. No. And like I said, it works for some people. My cousin, he was a terrible meth addict, and that saved his life.
Yeah, I was talking with my friend today about me growing up. Like, I didn't personally have like a relationship with God or any kind of faith, but my grandparents' relationship with God, they were like super devout Catholics.
Yeah.
And I think their relationship with God is what kept me alive.
Yeah.
Not mine personally, but somebody else's gave them the strength to like never give up on me when shit was like absolutely terrible, you know?
Because
they were grounded in some sort of faith. You know what I'm saying? And if they didn't have that, who knows if they would have been able to show up for me.
Yeah, because they were your support system.
Yeah, exactly.
Your own.
So it comes full circle, and now I'm pretty grounded in what I believe is my truth. You know. So, all right. So you're going to Africa.
Going to Africa. So yeah, I go to Hawaii. We do the thing in Hawaii. I'm there. I'm still like buying weed from the hobos on the beach and smoking it late at night when everybody goes to bed, watching Adult Swim, still in the same exact spot. And then eventually, comes Africa time, and we go to Africa, and suddenly you're surrounded, we're still in America and all that stuff. And then suddenly I get into a third world country for the first time in my life, and my comfortable white boy knowing of the world, which we all hear about it, but till you're in it.
Yeah. You're naive.
Yeah. The first place we went to was Ethiopia. We flew into Africa. We went to Ethiopia, and we were driving through the downtown to our hotel, and it was raining. The streets were muddy and flooded, and there was the one that's burned into my mind, this little boy coming up to the window of the car with his hands out asking for change, and his eyes were like gone, like he was blind, obviously, like couldn't see. They were all white and gooey and probably 5 years old. And I fucking broke down. I just started crying so hard, and that was the beginning of my little Christian path. And just while we were there, but now I know our subconscious is programmed by trauma and symbols and repetition. Those are the three things that program our subconscious mind. So that was my trauma, and I was surrounded by the Christians, and that's constantly what you're talking about, the glory of God, and that's all I'm hearing from there on out. I said, when I was in Hawaii, I was still
which is all good stuff,
No, dude.
Especially you're there doing good work.
It made me it brought me to where I am today. And like I said, the first time I learned that I'm talking to something, that this shit is real.
Yeah.
Like, you can communicate with our divine source that's pure love, and this world is, it listens. It answers. This is not a end thing when we die, and so kid was crying. That was the beginning of it. That's when I started the Bible stuff started getting into me a little bit. It's like, oh, what is this? And then we go off to the village where we're at, and so we went from rainy slums Ethiopia to this happy or like, and that's the crazy thing about Africa that everybody always says, oh, they're so happy and they have nothing, which we know that's because materialism is.
Yeah, is it true? Are they
Yeah,
genuinely
they're
happy?
absolutely
You know,
happy.
America is like we have the most resources than any other country, and we're the most unhappy country on the
That's
planet.
why we're so fucked up, because
Yeah.
that's why they give us so many choices.
Yeah.
It's just to insatiate the ego, where they get, over there it's fucking chocolate or vanilla ice cream.
It's wild. Like whenever we were created on this earth, whenever the hell that was, we were basically naked human beings. Yet we had everything we needed to like 100% thrive in this world.
Yeah.
And now we're like clothed with recording and camera equipment and all this shit around us and every necessity you could possibly need.
Yep.
And we're just like miserable creatures.
Emptiest we've ever been in the history we know.
Yeah.
For all we, if this is the height of our evolution and technology, which who knows? But no. It's all materialistic, and and the people that create it know that, and that's how they.
And people here in America, they like drag their kids to go panhandle and beg for change, and then go get in their fucking Mercedes Sprinter van and drive into Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
And that's the begging that we see, versus like a kid with no eyeballs.
Yeah.
Trying to feed himself or his family or whatever.
You just trying to live.
Unless he went and like popped out some contacts and or something.
Yeah, there's no way.
That's not happening.
No.
It's the real deal.
No.
Yeah.
So go to the village. It's sunny. It's nice, and we start building houses for them, and they're all doing their worship. It's all run by the church. It's like a sister church to my cousin's church.
Mm-hmm.
We're all there doing the work, and I start to feel this fulfillment and joy and something. And I'm also sober for the first time in a long time. There's no, I'm not smoking cigarettes or weed. I'm sober for the first time since I was, early high school, and
so you're feeling for the first time in a long time.
Yep.
And then you're like flooded with like heavy emotions because you're seeing a world that that we as kids growing up would like reading National Geographic about,
Yep.
And you're probably more excited that you saw a titty than you are looking at the suffering that's going on in the picture, because 15 years old National Geographic, that was.
Yep. You have no clue.
Yeah, you have no clue. You see it. And now as an adult, I see it and I see pain and suffering and poverty. But as a kid, you're like, oh, wow, cool.
Yep.
But now you're seeing it for the first time, but you're also feeling for the first time.
Yep.
Yeah, that's got to be a lot.
Yeah, no, it was crazy. And so at that same time, going through the trauma and then having a religion pumped into you at the same time, my subconscious starts to get programmed, and I start to get real into the Christianity stuff. And we're at that lake we're at that village for, I don't know, probably a couple weeks with these group of people, and the kids were awesome. We got relationships with them, the African people, and everybody's so happy. And I start to like fall into this Christian thing, and at the same time, like, and that's the thing with religion. Like, my cousin's still, I can tell he's still kind of a grumpy fuck, and on me a lot the way my dad is, because I'm the person he knows, and he's taking his human shit out on me.
Yeah.
Anyways, and then we get to, but I'm listening to him, and we got a little break before we go to the next place, and we go to some big lake out there. We were in Malawi, in southern Africa, which is more like central, but we were in Malawi. Go to this lake for like a little vacation time at this nice lakeside place, like big house, like condos you would find in America. Suddenly it's like we're back
westernized.
It's westernized.
Every third world country's got its fucking ritzy white suburb neighborhood. Dude.
I did. Even down the street from the African village, there was a little square we'd go to with a pizza shop and a little Baskin Robbins type thing.
Yeah, it's a trip.
But
then the poorest
nobody in
people
those
in the world.
fucking villages are going to that place, and it's 15 minutes down the road.
Mm-hmm.
So, but in that place on that lake is where so the Christian stuff, I'm starting to read the Bible and stuff, and it was one of the first times, like my cousin, I don't remember it totally, but basically, like if you talk to God, he'll talk back to you. You just got to ask him.
Yeah.
And his way of doing it was I'd ask him a question, then I'd open up the Bible and point to wherever I go to, and that would be an answer to my question. And I went out on a rock by myself, and I don't remember what questions I was asking, but I was asking whatever, and I'd flip the Bible open, land my finger down, and holy shit, like it would be a verse pertaining to whatever I was feeling or dealing with.
Yeah.
And so that was my first, like, oh, this is real. Like, and God, yeah, we can ask things, and it will talk back. It'll give us guidance. And so that got me on the beginning of my spiritual journey now was with Christianity, which is crazy. Because now, like,
what evolved?
You couldn't even get me. Well, you could not get me in a Christian church, but
yeah.
When I'm in there the whole time, I'm constantly like, holy crap, you people, dude, are crazy.
It's interesting, you know, I have most of my family is Christian, and you know, that's the life that my wife and I choose to raise our children in, so that they have like a staple environment of like a healthy relationship, something more accountable than just human and man.
It's family oriented.
But I must say, Christians, you know, we're humans. Human beings just turn me off in general. And when you have that many people in one congregation, there's going to be a lot of turnoffs and a lot of opinions. And I think people make their relationship with God so public, like it's like this badge of honor, or like, look at me, if you're not doing it this way, it's right or wrong. Like I could go on a rabbit hole of that.
No, yeah.
Even though I'm raising my child into that.
Yeah, no, but like you said, it's a human being thing. It's because they're humanized. Mm-hmm. It's a group think. They're in there, which, you know, praising God together is not particularly a bad thing, but that's my problem with Christianity. It's all these human thoughts and stuff.
Dude.
And the spirit is where we come from, doesn't have judgments. It doesn't have human thoughts. It doesn't put down or give up. Everything's, and like they say, oh, God, it's one. There's one thing. So there's no hate. There's no love and hate are the same thing. It's just two polarities of the same. It's gotten separated as we come down here into this human spirit, and we get these human ideas, and humans are fouled.
Yeah, it's crazy. Totally. I was just thinking that I shouldn't be like sexually tempted every single time I go to church because of the way women dress.
Yeah.
You know, not that I'm a pervert.
No.
But I do have human instincts, and women dress absolutely ridiculously scandalous at church.
That's,
you know,
you're just admiring the divine feminine.
I guess, yeah, but that's not the
highest
place.
form, baby. That's God.
That's I guess,
we all come from a woman.
This is very true. Yeah,
the divine feminine, man. That's where we all come from. That's our real attraction to it.
Mm-hmm.
In the human mind, it comes off as sexual and stuff, but that's not really what it is. It's like, you know,
it's a waste of energy. You know, like the all the way down to the way we dress and the way we look. It's like a waste of sexual energy.
Can be, yeah, you know.
But anyways, we're gonna go down that rabbit hole. So that's where you got your eyes open, or not eyes open, but yeah, I guess that would be a good way to put it. Into something bigger than yourself, and a connection.
Believing it.
Believing
it. And I was in church my whole life listening to these stories and stuff, and you know, you say you're a Christian, but at the same time you're like, this isn't real, because you're, as a child especially, like, you're very aware, and you're looking at the world around you, and you're like, there's no way, none of this corresponds.
Yeah.
These people that say these things, and then, then this was the first time, which is why I started reading the Bible and stuff, ultimately, because I was like, oh, this is real, because I had that first physical experience of something really going on, like I'm talking to something.
Yeah. And it's talking back.
Yeah.
For the first time.
Yep.
Yeah, I have an interesting. I don't ask questions like that, but I don't read my Bible often. But when I do, it's often an answer I was looking for, or like exactly what I needed to hear in that moment.
Yep.
But when I talk to God, I always hear it's a man's voice that talks back, and he always answers with my son. which is cool. You know what I mean? Like it's.
What's that mean?
I don't know.
What do you mean?
Like my son. Like when I ask a question, my son, like he's talking to me like as if I'm his son.
Your kid's talking to you.
No, God. When I talk to God in my head, when I pray.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I hear the voice.
Oh, he says my son.
Yeah, my son is like who
Yeah.
he calls me. You
Yeah,
know, which is cool. It's comforting. You know.
Yeah.
It's like I know that something out there is watching and listening and hearing.
Yeah.
Doesn't always answer, but.
Who'd you have a better relationship with, your mom or your dad, would you say?
Shit, neither. My mother died when I was 5 months old.
Yeah.
And my dad, I'd fucking cut his head off if I could get away with it.
Yeah.
So, I never.
So, and
had,
your mom could have been a loving, beautiful person, and your dad was.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why that voice is comforting you in a male voice, is because that's what you're missing, and that's the only thing you do.
Yeah, maybe. Or God's a man. I don't know.
Or God.
Or God's a woman. God's all of it.
God's all of it. 100%.
You know what I mean? So,
100%.
Yeah, so I don't know. That's what it comes to as me. And so you're in Africa. Your door's open spiritually. You're asking questions. You're getting answers. You're sober.
Yep.
You're feeling.
Yep.
You're helping people.
Yep. Then I come back after all that, and I'm super Christian. I got the Christian gear. I start preaching to all my friends. I come back to Grass Valley immediately.
Listening to POD.
Listening, yeah, heck yeah, dude. Only Christian rock. Yep.
Dude, I remember being at a church service. These weirdos, dude, and they had this big old crucifix, and they're like, oh, we're gonna do this cool event on this day. Everybody bring their music, their CDs in. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, cool. Music has been a huge staple of my life since I was a little kid. It's what I had. Growing up in the group homes, every single night I listened to Dark Side of the Moon as loud as my headphones could play to tune out all the crazy noise, the crying, the screaming, all the shit. You know, music was my escape into a different reality.
Me there too. Through high school, I always had my headphones in. Music is always a constant part of my life. But I don't know if I could ever live without it.
I can't. I always ask myself if I had to be deaf or blind. I think I would rather be blind. 100%. I've seen enough of the world to know its beauty.
100%.
But I love conversation, and I love learning, and I love music, and I love hearing. And anyway, so we get to the church. And they got this crucifix and a big old thing of nails and a hammer. Yeah. And they're making everybody go through their CD collection and nail their secular music is what it was called. Yeah. Nail it to the cross. Yeah. And I was like, there's no fucking way I'm nailing my music to the cross. And I walked out of there and I was like, this is weird. They shouldn't be doing this. And I do believe that there is music out there that high school people should not be listening to, especially in the rap game.
Whatever you're putting into your, especially when it comes to vibration and how they're finding somatics and stuff. Now, all that vibration has an effect.
But you want me to nail my Pink Floyd to a cross?
Yep.
Go fuck yourself.
Yep. Human thoughts, man.
Yeah, the pastor's name was Angus. He was black and his name was Angus.
Hey,
and he was super cool.
Yeah, fuck yeah,
really cool guy, but that was weird, you know?
Yeah, nope, it's, which is the craziest thing, too, because that's what baffles me the most about Christians and the judgment and stuff. Like, if you really read the Bible, Jesus hung out with hookers and beggars and fucking criminals, man. Those were
Washed
his people.
Their feet and
dude,
broke
those
bread
were
with
his
them.
fucking people.
Exactly.
The lowest of the lowest.
Yeah, how are you going to shine and change the world if you only hang out with people you're just like, I don't know. Anyways.
The homeless woman that came to your door and you turned her away, the drug addict. Yeah. It's like, what you do unto them, you have done unto me.
Dude, one time I was I was at this liquor store in Anaheim, in a super ghetto-ass neighborhood. And I look over next to me and there's this Mexican fool and he's smoking, he's getting ready to smoke some weed out of a beer can. Yeah. And I'm like, hey man, I roll my window, I was like, you want to roll a blunt? Hop in, shoot the shit. Never met this guy. I'm in my 20s. So he jumps in my truck and we smoke and we're hanging out and we're shooting the shit. And he gets out of my truck and I hear this little voice that's like, tell him God bless you. Yeah. And I just ignored it. I was like, nah, I'm not going to say it. And he gets out and he goes in his car and I go to start my truck and it won't start. Yeah. And And I'm like, oh shit. And he's like, hey, do you need a jump? And I'm like, no, I'm all good. It's all good. And I hear that voice again say, God bless you. And I'm like, no. He drives off. My truck won't start. He comes back and he's like, yo, are you sure you don't need a jump or a ride? I'm like, I'm good. And he takes off again. I ignore that voice.
Yep.
Dude, he comes back and I'm like, I'm fine, dude. Thank you for asking. Like, I'm good. My starter had a bad short in the solenoid, so sometimes it took forever to start.
Yep.
And I'm like, God bless you, dude. Thank you. Have a good night. God bless you. And he's like, oh, cool, man. Thanks. And he drives off, and I turn my key, and my car starts, like instantly. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Well, this dude is back behind me now.
Yeah.
And he's blocked me in, and he's at my driver window now, and he's in tears. Mm-hmm. And he's like, bro, I'm 35 years old. He's like, I've been in and out of prison my whole life. Nobody's ever said God bless you to me.
Yeah, man.
And he's like, thank you so much. He's like, God bless you, God bless you. He couldn't stop saying it. He was just like wailing in tears. And like, I was going to deny him that because I was uncomfortable with just like, you know, what is that, 3 words? You know what I mean? So like, it's interesting how we can impact somebody in a positive way with faith and God and love. And I could have rubbed that person the same way in a totally wrong way by saying like, what are you doing smoking weed, you idiot? You know what I mean? Like, instead I was like, yo, get your dumb ass in my car. Like, you're gonna roach your brain, get Alzheimer's with this aluminum.
Yeah.
Let's smoke a blunt and just like talk life. And I just show up in people's lives that way.
Yeah.
And just be a light without any kind of motive or trying to change somebody.
That's because you're in touch with the divine presence, man. That was just God having a conversation with himself.
I tried to ignore it, though. You know what I mean?
I know
but he wasn't giving up on me. He's like,
because
who knows where that man is now? Maybe you'll see this someday. He'll see this, and I see like that I made an impact in his life that was transformative. I don't know.
That would be fucking amazing.
Yeah,
but he made an impact on your life.
He for sure did. Yeah, that's a great way of looking at it,
Yeah,
dude.
man.
Hell yeah. Yeah, it's like the butterfly effect, the ripple effect, you know?
That's how God talks to us. That was God, man.
Always.
That was an angel coming down to slap Polly in the face and be like, dude, get back on your path, do your thing.
Yeah, even
Give
sometimes
love.
the angels that come our way come in the form of this evil energy to put us through growth, you know?
100%. Like I said, there's no such thing as evil, really, where we come from. It's there is no such thing as evil. It's a human thought.
There's a whole lot of it going on in this world, man. It's wild.
Yeah, but this world's an illusion. It's
It needs
not
to
real.
be eradicated.
It's not 100%, dude. But yeah, that's why we all need to wake up. We're creating this thing collectively.
Yep.
As soon as we wake up and decide we're done with it, it's over.
So you're back from Africa. You're still in high school, yeah? And you're Bible thumping.
17. No, I just turned 18.
Did you get like a white shirt and a tie and a name tag
and a key greater
and
than
a bicycle?
I planned, dude. I had the gear, the garb. I got the sweatshirts and stuff. And came back and preaching it to all my friends, and they're like, no way. Like, yeah, you know, pushing me away or whatever. But I remember my one buddy, Taggart, like I almost talked him into it, and he was like one of my best friends growing up. He's a gay dude, always has been since we were in 2nd grade.
Yeah.
He was out on the playground doing the Macarena with the girls.
Has he been like openly gay since he was in 2nd grade, or was he?
Like, it was one of those that we just all knew.
But he never told anybody. He just knew.
I don't think he knew. You know, when you're in 2nd grade, like I said, if you're not exposed to sex, I couldn't speak for him, obviously.
I just wonder because there were kids that we always, like I would say we knew were gay or assumed, and then they come out like years later, like way out, like in their 30s.
Taggart was out by high school, and that's one of the things that once again with the Christian shit, the whole talking people out of like, I know Taggart was gay. Like I said, we were 2nd grade. There was no thoughts of sexuality or anything. You talk flamboyantly. You hung out with the girls. That's where his energy was attracted to.
Yeah.
He was out on the playground doing the Macarena, freaking doing the thing.
And you were gonna redeem him, or?
No, not at all. I still was never that guy. I never got to that point where like, oh, you can't be like that or anything. Yeah, I never got to that point. He was just one of my best friends, and I was talking to him, and I showed. I remember showing it. There was this one book my cousin showed me. It was called A Case for Christ, and I don't even remember what it is now. I read it back then, but it was supposed historical evidence that Jesus Christ actually existed, and they proved it. And
they have. I mean, he's a real dude. Jesus Christ was a real person on this earth. He was a teacher.
Jesus was some dude named Jesus. Christ came from long before the Christos, the ancient Gnostic religion. That's a thought of energy that's been around for years and like way before Jesus.
Yeah, one of the things that fascinates me about you is that like you know so much about like maybe not so much, but you know a little bit about a lot of different faiths.
Yeah.
You know, and different ways of life and spirituality practices, and so you're not just somebody who just says shit, you know, but some of the stuff you say blows my mind, and I'm like, I gotta do my homework. So anyways, we're getting off track.
Okay. Back to it.
Yeah.
Came back doing the preaching, and like, I'm never gonna, and then like, first thing I have a cigarette for the first time and fall right back into the same line of stuff. And it was right around 2004 or 5. The Fizz movement's popping in San Francisco.
Yeah, Mac Dre, baby.
Yeah,
R.I.P.
That
Fizz is MDMA, ecstasy.
Ecstasy, yes.
Which plays a big role in my life now, funny we should say, but
100%.
It can also destroy you.
As anything can, man.
Yeah.
Anything can destroy you. Give your life to anything, it'll destroy you. But yeah, so anyways, that starts popping. While I was in Hawaii, my best friend Grayson tried ecstasy for the first time. He's like, it's the best thing. And a lot of the Fizz guys were coming up here buying weed from our high school buddies and stuff, having parties up here.
Dude, it's crazy how I lived in Lake County in high school, which is a little, I guess, west from here, northwest. And yeah, dude, like guerrilla growing in high school was a thing.
Oh yeah.
Like it was not hard to get drugs in high school at all around here, especially because weed was a thing. It brought, like you said, it brought in coke and ecstasy and shit from the Bay Area.
Yep.
So we're 16, 17 years old with access to like really good quality hard drugs.
Yeah. Yep. So the ecstasy thing Grayson was telling me about, I was like, I gotta try it. I popped my first pill like that year, like months after I got back from Africa, and like the whole Christian thing faded away pretty quickly. But that was when I started to, like I said, I had begun my journey on I could talk to things and it was talking back to me. And then I started having my first, telepathic, like weird stuff with my friends. We'd all be taking ecstasy and driving, and I can't remember all the instances, but like me and my buddy Ian were driving down a back road here high and smoking weed, and we both looked at each other and were like, there's a cop coming. And like minutes later,
Cops. I mean, you got your podar on, like I could.
No, this was in the
smell a cop
back
coming,
roads of Nevada County. We were like in the bookie, like way back to where we knew we wouldn't, and we just like knew and like we felt it, and it was, so that's when I started to get on the whole more metaphysical level of things. Like, yeah, we were both thinking the same thing at the same time, and we resonated with each other, and we knew it. We sowed it to each other. We said it to each other. So that's when I first started really coming into the whole metaphysical experience of things, and then. So yeah, started taking a bunch of ecstasy, and we did that with all our friends. And then I started having the real magical experiences. Once again, begins with trauma. I'm probably 19. A year later, I was super excited. Me and my buddy Paul and Weston were going to Weston's house down in Fort Bragg. His parents were building, and we had taken ecstasy a few nights before, and it makes you all foggy. And we were down at my dad's house, and me and my dad had been fighting because he's still, like I said, me and him don't have a great relationship. He's still a dick. And I'm leaving the house. Me and Grayson are leaving the house, and as I'm pulling out, I back over my dog that I've had since he's a 16-year-old dog, almost something that I grew up with since I was 4. We get out of it, we're like, what the fuck, no way. We get out of the car, so down at the ranch, he's sitting there just dying. I ran over his hips, and he was getting old anyways, but And I'm talking to Grace, and I'm like, dude, just like pick up a rock or something and hit him in the head, like I can. And I called my dad and told him he had just left a little while ago. My dad comes down and just like without saying a word to us, looks at Jake, goes to the garage, puts a blanket around him, just picks him up, takes him out into the garage, just without a word. It was his dog, one of the things that he brought with him from the divorce, one of the only things.
Man, probably wrecked him, dude.
He didn't say a word to us. And like, once again, the trauma, man. I'm fucked up, but I'm also like doing the drugs and stuff. And like, I don't want to think about this. I want to just get out of there.
Yeah.
And so we just bounced and we left, and we had more ecstasy, and we were going to the Fort Bragg house. We had ecstasy and mushrooms, and we went to my buddy Weston's house down in Penn Valley that night to stay before we left early. And I took ecstasy and mushrooms, and that was my first like nature experience of the goddess, I guess you would say. We ate the mushrooms. Everybody else just ate mushrooms. I didn't tell them I had the ecstasy, and I popped the ecstasy pill, and I went out in the backyard, and I just laid. It was probably freezing out, but I felt so warm. It started raining on me. Like, I took all my clothes off, and I just felt like I felt the mother for the first time, just that motherly energy. Something was comforting me and holding me, and
it's like crazy that like the earth is so vibrant.
Mama Earth, man. And the warm water, and I just like, it felt like it was just healing me, man. And that was when I think my brain started to crack open, and I started to get out of the human thought, and had that crazy experience that night. Like, felt like I had an orgasm out in the woods. Like, it was.
So that was a turning point. That you backing over your dog was like it set in motion, even though it was a traumatic event.
Yes.
Set in motion something good.
Yeah, like everything does, man. Yeah, trauma, like I said, I think we choose to go through these things to lead us on this path that we need to go down for whatever reason. We can choose how we deal with them or not.
Yeah, exactly. It's choice. The key word there is choose. Like you made a choice.
Yep.
Whether it was a conscious one or one that you made in your subconscious, high as fuck on mushrooms and ecstasy.
Yep.
But in the right setting, ecstasy and mushrooms are like a beautiful combination of medicine for healing.
And I always took them to get high.
Yeah,
that was the first time I actually felt that. Like, I had never. Like, because, you're a kid, you're taking them to get high. I didn't know anything really about metaphysics.
And you didn't even know, it sounds like you kind of got lucky.
No, I didn't know. I didn't even think about it till years later. Like, the whole experience. Just then I thought, it's one of those things 15 years later when I start getting into this spirituality and stuff, like, realizing all these things that happened in my life. Like, holy fuck, man.
Wild, dude.
Yeah.
So after that, how old are you there? Are you still in high school?
Yeah, no, I'm out of high school. I'm 19, just beginning. You're supposed to do the adult thing, and I did that. Ran over the dog, and then we went to Fort Bragg, and my buddies had gone to Fort Bragg already, and they told me, we met this crazy old dude called Graybeard or something in downtown. He says he's a wizard, and like, we got his phone number, and it's like, you guys are fucking crazy, dude. Like, what are you talking about? And fucking, they call him out. We're smoking hella weed while we're there, and just being stoners, and we call him up, and they want to go to his house. They go to his house, and it's this crazy old dude. Like, he was. But now thinking back on it, like, it wasn't crazy. I don't know what crazy is. Like, what is crazy? I feel we gotta lose our minds to find it sometimes.
Sometimes I'm a little crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, to find it. Everybody's crazy to somebody.
Dad. Like, all the great magicians of the world, like Aleister Crowley and stuff, who ultimately went down the evil path of things.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's a bad dude.
No, they went down the evil path of things.
I started reading about him. I was reading this book called A Walk on the Dark Side, and it was like the myths and legends of rock and roll history.
Oh, yeah.
And I got to the chapter about Led Zeppelin, and they bought Aleister Crowley's house.
Yeah, I did.
And they were recording albums in like the bottom of an empty pool.
Yeah.
And like, I think it's in England, like on the English countryside.
Yeah.
and doing like I put the book down. It got so dark where it was like I was noticing shifts in my thought from like just welcoming this into my brain. Where I was like,
yeah, and that's a whole nother level of stuff. He was hugely involved in pop culture for a reason.
yeah.
Like we're talking the government, CIA, yeah, we're talking crazy levels of stuff.
Yeah, that's for Joe Rogan.
Yeah. But anyways, so yeah, going to the wizard's house, like it's during the daytime. Like, we're going to the wizard's house, and we go over to his house, and he's telling crazy stuff, like on top, like the government they mind controlled my wife, and then she tried to stick me in the oven when we were on acid.
Shit.
But he used to be a professor or something, crazy physicist or something like that. And at first I'm thinking, you're fucking crazy, dude. And then he's like, let me show you how the universe works or something. And he brings out this, which now that I've studied magic and stuff, I can only assume it was like the 24 or 22 Hebrew letters on the two pillars. I can't remember everything he said to me, but he was like, this is how the universe works. And he had these two pillars with all the different numbers or the symbols on them, and he was connecting the whole thing, like, so this is this, and then it connects to this, and like that follows the rabbit. And he'd be like, and like, but everything he said made total sense. And it was that first like thing, it was my first, which I didn't understand at that point. Like, it made sense to me in some kind of way, but I didn't get it. And now later on, I get it was numerology and the fractal universe and how everything is connected, and there is a very simple base of this world.
You just thought he was crazy.
At first, yeah, I thought he was crazy, which he was, like I said. But then that's all. Yeah, I think we do really at some point have to lose our minds to find it, because we're all stuck in these human boxes of what you're supposed to be, and I think that's part of the control system, and that's how they keep us stuck here and afraid. And ultimately, I think the end goal is they don't want people to be not afraid of dying, because once you're not afraid of dying, that's the only control that any of this world has over us.
Yeah, I'm reading this book. It's called Outwitting the Devil, and it's written by Napoleon Hill, and it's really a trip because it was written, I think he wrote it in like the 30s, and they just recently published it because it was so like edgy that they didn't want to slander his name.
Who was Napoleon Hill?
Napoleon Hill, he wrote like Think and Grow Rich. Like he was, I'm not really sure about him, but he was an influential person of like the 1930s and 40s, like a really good author who wrote a lot of books. I don't know much about him, but I do know the story of this book. They didn't want it published because it was an interview, like basically a podcast between him and the devil.
Okay.
And he's interviewing the devil and learning all of his secrets on how he controls mankind. And this is written in the 1930s, right? And
you're gonna have to send this.
Dude, it's wild. So if you listen, I would highly recommend listening to it because it's narrated in two different voices.
Okay.
And Napoleon Hill, in order to do this interview, he has to call the devil Your Majesty.
Yeah.
Or else he's not agreeing to do it.
King of Kings, man.
Yeah, something like that. Anyways.
King of this world.
Of his world, yeah. But he's talking in there about how he controls human beings and mankind. Yeah. And he's like, I keep them worried they're going to be poor. Yeah. He's like cigarettes. He's like, once I get somebody with cigarettes. Yeah. He's like, it's so easy to get him with anything else. He's like, I'll have millions of people smoking cigarettes by this year. And it's like, and then you're hearing this and you're like, dude, this is, 70 years later, or whatever it's been. And
it's just crazy because the cigarette
90. This is 90 years ago.
Indians used it for spiritual purposes and stuff, and it got turned around into a.
Anyways, they wanted to keep. He's like, I want to keep them poor. Once you got them worried
Native
about
Americans.
Poverty, you keep them poor. Yeah. He's like, and then their health. He's like, keep them unhealthy and always worried about sickness. Yeah. And he's like, you control mankind. And you're reading this and you're like, oh my gosh, like this is too true to like not be real. You know what I mean? And they published the book, and it like, dude, it gives me the goosebumps to read. But you listen to it and you're like, whoa, you learn so much about like. Now you know all these tricks that the evil energy is trying to play on you to control you. Yep. You can like move some dominoes around and change the game a little bit. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. All fear is rooted in death, though. All those things, it all comes back to death.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that my teacher that freed my mind personally, R.I.P. Brother Panic, he passed away on the Day of the Dead. He was a death coach. That's how he always explained himself. But his whole thing was like, I'm here to teach you not to be, once you're not scared of death, this life is a cinch. There's nothing they can do to you.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's very true, you know. I mean, I don't know how I feel about dying. I think now that I have children, my fear of death is more logical because I have so much work left to do here on this earth to leave these kids like able to navigate, you know? Like before kids, I was reckless, dude. Like